Welcome to our live stream broadcast. Hope you guys are doing okay. We're going to be starting in about 3 or 4 minutes. Catch you in that time.
Good evening. It's good to see some of you here. It's been too long. And for those of you at home, it's good to know that you're there as well. Thanks for coming out for the all-church meeting. I know we've been a little bit distant lately, and it just kind of feels funny, but I want you to feel the vibe here, what's going on and what direction we're going, and where we've been and where we're going and all of that sort of thing. Different committee chairs and different pastors will be presenting different things, and there'll be a break somewhere in there for you to ask questions. If you're watching at home, you will be able to type in your questions and they will get to us because it's the 21st century. So we welcome your questions. We'd love to talk with you. And that being said, it's a church event, so let's open with prayer. Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be able to come here tonight. We're grateful to be able to come and talk about your church, where we've been and where we're going. We know this has been a difficult year, and we know we still have challenges ahead, but we know that we're with you and you're with us. And we know that you'll watch over and protect us and guide us. I just pray that you'd give us the wisdom and the strength and the guidance to be able to see and know and do your will in this community for this little church called Anona. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. And with that, Richard, where are we going?
Ta-da! There you go. All right. And hello again to everybody. I got to greet a lot of you as you came in, and hello to you who are with us online. And Dave's right on target. We're talking about where we've been and where we're going. And I want to start with just a little bit of actually pushing a little bit further back in time to when I first came back from our 360 campus. And I came back here, and one of the first things that I noticed was that we didn't have our sermons online. We weren't not just doing live, we didn't have it online on the website ever. And since that time, how far we have come in terms of our technology and how we were getting ready for some great ideas for how things could work forward, and saying, what would it look like if we did technology as sort of a next step for us to say, what would it look like for a church that had worship, grow, and serve all together as one, as a part of who we would be, is an online format, not just in terms of an on-campus format. And so we met with the trustees, we met with finance, we met with the staff parish team to start saying, what in each area do we need to address in order to make that possible? And we got everything ready. We got the technology in, and we put in the technology in here with the cameras that you're watching on now. We got the soundboards redone. All those things were done in each worship environment in order to get us ready to do what we thought was going to be this innovative moment where we were ahead of the curve. We were catching a wave that people hadn't quite caught. And then COVID struck. And when COVID struck, what happened was the whole idea of that being innovative became what everybody was doing, because everybody suddenly had to move online. The only advantage we had was that we were a little ahead of the curve. We already had the ability to be able to say we're worshiping online. Traditional was already online. Contemporary was already online. We'd already cut that road and gotten to a place where when we had to shut down, we weren't doing like a lot of churches, having to learn how to do that. We already had PushPay. Elisa had worked with us on that to say, how can we get a giving app that was available where people could give online? And so many of you have moved to online giving. It is amazing. When you think about the Grow side, we were working with Gary to get the Amplify program started, where you could go online to be able to watch videos related to a study that you were doing. That was able to ramp up very quickly because we'd already done the research. We'd already met with the company. We were in the process of doing it. And then the serve component. The serve component is saying, how do we do an online version of serve where it doesn't matter where you live? You could connect with a church. My family that lives up in the Virginia area, I could actually connect them and did connect them with a church up there where they worship with us, but they're able to do missions through a church up in Virginia. Really to be able to think about the church in a different way. And then we started moving toward the collaborative model, saying, what would church look like? And so what I want to touch on a little bit tonight was a little bit of that history, and then to speak a little bit more into our closer history. Jack and I transitioned in July of this past year of 2020, that awesome year of 2020. We transitioned, and in the midst of that transition, I sort of put in my head, like, okay, we're going to do like a couple of 6-month thoughts. The first 6 months, from July through December, was starting to look at our staff and saying, what could we do in order to help our staff work better together? How do we eliminate some silos that have developed over time? And so what we did is we moved Casey, who's over here taking, if you have any questions, you pop those online and she'll take them down. Casey, who took over as family minister and took ministries that were separate. We had a nursery director, we had a children's ministry director, we had a youth director, but nary did the three come together in order to coordinate and said, what would family ministry look like together? It wasn't cohesive. And so putting Casey in that position, it was awesome. I walked in today, I was sharing this with Jack. I walk in today and I saw the dream alive. I walking towards Wesley Hall, the FX Theater, and as I'm walking there, Casey's going like this, come on. And she's got a team of people sitting in front of one of our new screens that allows us to do the hybrid classes online where you can be on campus and off campus and be all in the same group. She's got a team of people facing towards a screen. Some people are meeting in their offices to be more socially distant. But she's got the whole team. I saw, guess who? Our nursery director in the room. I saw our children's minister in the room. I saw our youth director in the room. I saw Casey. I saw the assistant to each one of those areas. I saw a youth come in the midst of the time that we were together, all because they were planning what family ministry looks like as a whole. And you guys got to experience it. You guys, I will ask you to raise your hands, and you can do it at home too, I just won't be able to see. Did you come out for Christmas Eve for the live nativity, right? The reason that happened was because of those types of moments happening in family ministry, and not just family ministry, because another person that was present in that meeting was Jackie Evans. Jackie Evans isn't in family ministry. Jackie Evans is our missions director, but she connects now with family ministry on a regular basis to say, what's the mission component? How does that weave into the thing that you're doing? And that's constantly there. And what they were planning was Palm Sunday, a Palm Sunday activity that they'd be able to do. Not to be unveiled yet, because I'm not allowed to talk about it. But we're hoping to be able to do something really special for Palm Sunday. It was just awesome to watch that moment unfold. So that's the first 6 months, getting the teams together. Jeremy's the other piece of that, where he's doing the worship side and bringing all that under one umbrella to say, how does worship work together as a whole? Moving from there, we're now going into the second 6 months. That's January through July of this year. And what we're doing now is I'm surveying our leadership. I'm working with Casey. I'm working with Jeremy. And we're starting to look at what's our mission and vision for moving forward. Not just for a year. We're starting to look at a 5-year plan to say, what are the steps we need to take as a church in order to stay relevant in a new world? Church has to be done in a new way in light of all that's happened. Things have leapfrogged, and we need to leapfrog ahead of the leapfrog in order to stay on that agenda. So we're starting to plan, what does the mission and vision of our church look like moving forward? And while we don't have clarity yet of what that looks like, where we're developing it in process, I can tell you a few key things that are sort of inside of me that I'm hoping to see coming out of the church. One is that we will be an inclusive church. Casey spoke beautifully about it from a race perspective. I will speak about it from a human sexuality perspective. We're facing a vote this fall. Everybody is welcome in this church. And it's not just welcome, they are embraced. And how do we get to that place where we say, no matter who you are, how you are, the color of your skin, it doesn't make a difference. You are welcome here. You're welcome here. You're seeking a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if you're seeking that relationship with Jesus Christ, you're just like me. You're seeking grace because you're messed up. And so we walk that walk together. And I trust Jesus to work in your life the way that Jesus is seeking to work in my life, regardless of who you are, color of your skin, practices that you, all that's gone. It's all in the grace of God and God's relationship with you. So that's a piece of it, inclusion. Another piece is to be able to look at and say that we're going to be family focused and community focused. So I spoke about that last time. I talked about the family focus, and I said, imagine if there was a playground out on this side of the campus where these two green spaces, that we had a playground that was out here that the community was welcome to come into. And you'd be able to see it from the road, and people would be able to see the energy, the kids outside, and we'd be able to see that. And folks from around the neighborhood would say, I get to come to that playground with my kids. And we would be here with open hearts, open minds, open doors, the Methodist language to say, yes, you are welcome here. Come in, play on the playground. Speaking those words led to a person donating towards that playground to the tune of $500,000. Isn't that awesome? For a person to have gotten that excited to say, I hear that vision for what this church can be. I want to see kids. I want to hear kids playing on our church campus. And so we're going to be moving forward with that in hopefully a short time to be able to say, we've got those kids. What if we took the far side of the campus? I talked about this last time, but I'm going to keep saying it because we've all got to get bought into the idea and into the vision of saying, what can this church be moving forward? And once again, like I said last time, it's not something new. It's merely redoing some things that we've done in the past that we've sort of lost track of. And that's that focus on families right now. So if we took the whole behind contemporary worship service, Jack and the team that led back in the 2000s, early 2000s when we built contemporary worship service, had the insight to say, let's put a big door on the back of the Contemporary Worship Center. Let's put a stage out there. Let's put an awning over the top of that so that we could do outdoor worship. What if we deliberately embrace that, not just as an occasional thing, but in the event that this pandemic endures, that it comes like the flu every year, that we had a safe place to be able to worship outside. And we worked on having the technology available that was just set up out there where we're not rolling things outside all the time. And there's a ground that isn't sandy and ant-filled. It's got a soft padding for it so the students can still use it at the preschool during the aftercare. There's spaces out there for youth to be able to meet along the perimeter. And you could bring your chair out and we have worship together outside if we can't gather inside because it's safer out there. The idea is to start thinking just a little bit differently about how we do church post-pandemic, or if the pandemic continues on down the road. 3, small groups. Small groups, relationship-oriented ministry. And Jack's going to be speaking more in depth on this, but that has to be a piece of who we are. I spoke about it 2 weeks ago during my sermon message, was saying what we miss, and I was actually speaking to 2 of the 4 of you, right? Because you had 4 of you sitting together. We miss each other. We miss the opportunity to be able to gather together. And maybe the thing that we need to learn out of this crisis moment is how to do that better. And Jack's got an awesome plan for what that can look like for us to be able to move forward. And we work more on how we have these face-to-face, whether it's mass-to-mass or face-to-face, but we get to connect with people that we know and love as a family community called Anona. Next, Jackie Evans, missional heart. This church already has that. What she's done is she's taken it to the next level. I'll list at the end, we're going to list up some of the celebrations of what we've done in this past year. It is amazing what we've done thanks to Jackie and the team that she's pulled together in order to make missions possible. It is just incredible, and we can't lose that heart. We keep living into that to more and more degrees of Christ-likeness. And finally, collaborative. And this is the Transform Your Tomorrow initiative. This is the Serve Pinellas initiative of connecting with churches. We are now up to how many churches? 90 churches. 90 churches have joined us in the Transform Your Tomorrow effort. 90 churches. That is amazing to me that we can get that many churches to agree to say, we're going to work together. And for them to realize when I met with the pastors to say, this is only the first step of us working together. This is us starting to build what I talked about a minute ago. It's about churches building relationships with churches. And we're seeking to help one another thrive. To have the kingdom of God come alive in Pinellas County and Pasco County and Hillsborough County and I don't know what other counties across the bay. But that we all get together to say we can do church differently by not competing with one another, but collaborating with one another. Those are the 5 key aspects that we're going to try and sort of weave into who we are as a church moving forward over the next 5 years. And I hope that you find a place in the midst of all that to be a part. And whether that's in terms of leadership or just participation, there's a place for you to be able to be a part of that whole journey. That 5-year plan is already in development. Our trustees team has already brought in a person that's called a space planner. And what we've asked them to do is to look at the current campus that we have. Rather than building new building, let's maximize the buildings that we've got and the usage of the spaces that we already own and possess. Let's not build more places to air condition. Let's build more places where just relationships happen. And that's the playground, which will be far cheaper to sustain and maintain than doing a whole other building that we do. And it conveys the heart of who we are and what we're about. We're about kids, we're about families, we're about community, all that woven together as one. So what you're going to hear tonight, past this moment is little pieces of how that might be coming together, whether that's through staff parish, whether that's through finance, whether that's through trustees, whether it's through our worship teams. There's just going to be multiple opportunities for us to hear from some of the areas that are seeking to now address the direction that we're seeking to go. And the first person coming forward is our staff parish chair, Susan Garcia Nikolova, who is going to come up here to speak to us about what's going on in staff parish, what's going on with our team. So.
It's hard to get my mask off because I wear too big earrings. Okay, well, good evening, everybody, out in Zoom land and out here too. And as Richard said, my name is Susan Garcia Nikolova, and I am your staff parish chair. And tonight, what I'm going to be talking to you about are resignations, retirements, and certainly thanking those people that have offered their service and their time here at Anona. Also looking at new hires as well. So first, let me put on my old lady glasses so I can read this. So first, I think we're going to have a slide come up. I'm thinking, maybe. Yeah, there we go. And I'm assuming that folks at home are looking at the slide and not me. So we're going to be saying goodbye to Janice Dean, who is retiring. She is the financial secretary for Giving. And Erin Pageant, who's currently our director of communications, is going to be training with her to fill that position. Also, Leslie Thompson, on the other side of Steve, who is currently our Director of Marketing and Discipleship, is resigning. She's done an amazing job for us, but she's going to be taking care of her family. So she will be moving on. And with her position, what we'll do is we'll be able to split out some of her responsibilities to people who are currently on staff. And then if we have to do some contract work out for marketing or things like that, we have that as an option. Also in the middle is Steve Livers, and everybody knows Steve, right? And he is going into semi-retirement, but you'll still see him around campus fixing things and making the plant workable. So next, of course, is our beloved pastor, or co-pastor, co-senior pastor, Jack. And Jack, of course, is retiring in the end of June, effective, July 1st? And so I think we have another slide that's coming up too, and I have to take my glasses off.
I can speak to this one, Susan, so you don't have to squeeze your glasses there if you want. This has been the process that we've been following, that we submitted to our bishop. They asked us to develop a plan for this transition that we're going through. So you've seen this slide before, and we started way over on the left when it was just me moving to finance and Jeremy moving to trustees to start overseeing those committees. Back in, what was that, like 2017. So it's been a process over time. I went through an interview to be able to become a local pastor for the church, got licensed, as you can see that, and became co-senior in July of 2019. Something happened this past, was the 31st. The last time I preached, that day I got interviewed by the Board of Ordained Ministry. For my second interview to be able to be ordained, thankfully they said yes. I passed the interview.
Yay!
So,
woot, woot.
so hopefully they will now appoint me here. That's the next question. So I passed the interview, but they decide where I get appointed in the Methodist Church. But the plan is for me to be appointed here. So you'll see up there that coming up this July, there's a new associate question mark with green right there. We are not bringing in another minister. A, Jack is staying in a part-time capacity. B, we have this awesome person named Casey McKinney, who is filled in, who is in seminary and is quite a qualified pastor from my perspective, and I'm sure you guys have been experiencing her as such as well. So we do not need to bring in another ordained person. We have Casey. So that is, oh, there she goes. We even have a picture of her on the screen.
There she is.
There you go. Taking our notes over there. So we're sort of at the last piece where Jack will be retiring effective July 1st of this year. He has to take a time of separation. Normally that's required to be a year in the Methodist Church. We have worked with the conference and sort of had conversation. We're shooting for more of a 3-month hiatus for him to be able to get a chance to be able to step away for a little bit, and then he will come back into the new role that he'll be speaking into a little bit more as we talk into the evening. So we do want to say a big thank you to Jack as well. Yes? He has been okay. That's right. Jack is awesome. Hey. Oh, that's right. You are in the room. So that gets through that section, I think. You can hop back in there again.
Can I hop back in?
Yes.
Okay, and well, I'm going to piggyback on something that Richard had mentioned where he was saying that he passed his interview, but I do want to share with you one of our homegrown Anona, well, I'm going to say students because they were a student
They were.
Bailey Schreiner, who was a pastoral intern, and he passed his Board of Ordained Ministries, and he's a provisional elder. So yay, Anona, homegrown.
I don't know the number of people Jack has raised up in terms of going into ministry. It's been awesome. So now we have another one doing that. And it's just such a gift. You see Casey on that journey as well, of exploring what might mean to become a minister. It's just nothing but beautiful. So we do celebrate with Bailey, with his family. I got to do his wedding a few years ago, so that was sort of cool. And gave him a call the day before or the day of his interview to be able to have a prayer with him and then talk to him afterwards. And he was just so excited and so appreciative of the support of Anona, having grown up in our youth ministry, gotten to the place where he felt that calling, and then now is getting to live that out. And he's also part of our team in Pinellas, right?
Yes, he's. I serve with him on our district policy and witness program or committee through for anti-racism through the district, the Gulf Central District.
He doesn't even live here.
And he's sharp. He's super sharp.
Yes, he is.
Super sharp. Okay, so next we're going to move on to new hires, and we have Scott Magnus, who's sitting back there way in the back, and he is our new Director of Facilities, Health and Safety, and he's done an amazing job. And I have to say, serving on a committee with him for the reopening committee, I mean, so on point. So thank you so much for that. Also, Bonnie Barrow, and I think you met Bonnie back in, I want to say October, but I could be wrong on the dates because they're all kind of melding together, right, folks? But I know that she had come and met folks at services, but she is now serving with our director as our Director of Children's Ministry. And Colleen, and I hope I say her name correctly, Robbie, is it Robbie? Rabe. See, and I should know with my last name, you'd think I'd get everybody's last name right. And she is our Associate Director of Worship. So you'll see her in the traditional services and working closely with Jeremy and with the music department. So a big welcome to all of our new hires and a big thank you to all of those that are resigning or retiring or moving on. And that's all she wrote.
Thank you, Ms. Staff
You are
Parish
welcome.
Chair who controls my job, Susan Garcia Nicolova. Next coming forward is Karen Coltis, who is our finance chairperson, to share how our year went last year and how we're seeking to address the year that is coming before us. Hey, Karen.
Thank you guys for being here this evening, online as well as in here with us. 2020 definitely was a tough year, and I am grateful that we've had so many people, from those who donated $1 to however much every single dollar counted. I think we have a slide to tell us where we ended up for the year. We had a budget of $2,322,926. The expenses came in at $2,156,423, but our giving was just at the, not just, but at $2,074,624. So we did lose $81,799 for the year. That is with everybody on the finance team, which thank you guys all for being on that team, as well as the staff, really buckling down, making as many adjustments as possibly could be done. And a lot of people stepped up and gave more than what they normally would give. And so we are grateful to be able to sustain the way that we did.
Yeah, Karen, I'd like to lift this up as well, that you look at that number, and I want you to understand that that was the second highest giving number in the history of Anona United Methodist Church in a COVID crisis year. Not only that, we were the #1 giving church, as you heard a few weeks ago, to the children's home. There's just so many places that your generosity has helped us to be able to get through the 2020 COVID crisis. We're still in 2021, still need your help. But the idea of that, plus the things that you did regarding the children's home and I always want to say RCS, which is now Hope Villages America, which we met this past week. So many places that you all were generous beyond the church is just amazing. So thank you for all that you guys have done.
So now that we have finished with the 2020 year, we now need to focus on the 2021 year. There have been several changes that you've just heard about that is going to help us when we are preparing that budget for this year now. And we have reserves that we had set aside that we had decided, we want to be able to support our staff, and it's helped us get through this time frame. So we're focusing on that. We're trying to cut the budget by $100,000 right off the top, and
yeah, we're actually doing that. It's actually going to be a little bit more than $100,000. So we missed by 80. We're going to try and cut more than the 80 for this year. Part of that is actually because Jack's retiring. So that saved a chunk. And we knew that for a couple of years where we had the overlap between Jack and I, both in the co-senior role, that would affect the budget and cause it to be higher than normal. This is going to bring it down now as he approaches, in essence, half a year towards retirement pay. And then the next year, we will actually pick up the other half as he goes into retirement pay for a full year. So we'll actually, hopefully next year, have a budget that is hopefully at least flat.
so you're wondering, how can you help? You here in the audience and you at home, if you have not sent in your pledge card, please do that for us, because what we have received so far is $943,551 in pledges. That sounds amazing. However, it's $300,000. That's more than $250,000, for those of you counting, behind where we were last year. So we really need all of you. We're so used to being able to come and bring our pledge cards and bring them to the altar, so we may have forgotten to send it in. It's just real important for you to send in those pledge cards so we have a better idea what our budget can be, if we know we have to cut even more, what next step we need to take. And again, remember, if $5 is all you can do for a week, don't be ashamed of that. We're grateful for everything that you're willing to put into this community, this church, the staff. Every dollar counts. It helps us greatly.
It does, and every one of you have made a difference, as Karen's saying, through the whole year to get us to the place where we just missed by, when you think of a $2.3 million budget, to miss by $80,000 is a big number, and yet it's not. You guys really helped us to get through this, and we thank you all for all that you've done, but we do and would appreciate if you could let us know if you didn't pledge yet to make sure you do so. And I want to make it as simple as possible. You can email your pledge. We don't need a card. Send it to a wonderful person named Alisa, A-L-I-S-A, literally A, Lisa, at Anona.com, and just say, here's my pledge for the year. You can do that right now. You can do that after we finish. Send it to her and say, here's my pledge for the year. We will get that recorded and hopefully get us to a little bit more place of comfort of saying, we didn't lose $300,000 worth of people, did we, as we're going into the year? Because otherwise, we have to go back and look at the budget even more to say, what do we do? I will say that the staff did not take a pay raise this year, so we kept them flat, but kept them employed. And what you heard from the staff parish chair, from Susan, was a resignation in Janice in terms of retirement, Leslie moving back to be closer to her mom, Steve retiring, all those moves. We're trying to find ways in the midst of those moves to keep those costs off. So it's giving us an opportunity to reduce the budget some and reposition people, where some people are going to have to pick up a little bit more in their job description in order to cover those absences, because they were very valuable people on our team. But it'll help bring our budget down even more. And really, there's only two places for us to reduce budget. That is staff, and that is facility. And the problem with facility, I don't know if you've ever tried this with your electric bill at home. You try and adjust it, and it really doesn't make that much difference. So it's hard for us to lower our insurance costs. They don't go down, they go up. So for us to be able to reduce the facility, we will be looking at that and seeing what we can do. The reality is, if we have to do further cuts, it will involve staff. And that's the hard part. Staff's been talked to a little bit about that, of our concerns. Even last year, they were going month to month saying, we're going to have to see if we can keep. We're going to have to see if we can keep. And if you can imagine the anxiety that's associated with that. And you can help alleviate that anxiety if you're planning to give to the church anyway during the course of the year. Just send in that pledge information to elisa@anona.com. Karen?
Thank you.
You are awesome. Thank you so much. And now we have, speaking of Elisa@Anona.com, we also have Elisa at Anona. And she's going to come up here and share with us a little bit more about the Transform Your Tomorrow initiative that we're doing. That is that partnership I was talking about with those other churches. The cool thing there, our goal was 100 churches, which when we thought about it was like, that's crazy to think you could get 100 churches. And would you say we failed because we only got 90? You know, you set what they call BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, and you go for it. And you celebrate even if you don't quite make it. That's still awesome to have 90 churches, and a large chunk of that credit goes to that woman standing right there.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what is Transform Your Tomorrow, or as Jack says, what is TYT? Because we call it TYT around here. TYT, or Transform Your Tomorrow, is an initiative, and it goes beyond financial peace. It goes beyond Dave Ramsey. So Dave Ramsey and Financial Peace University is the vehicle that we are using, and the current counties that are involved, you got most of them, are Pinellas, Pasco, Polk, and Hillsborough County. So we have 90 churches currently involved, 27 are Methodist. The other churches are Baptist, Catholic, Seventh-day Adventist, Lutheran, Anglican, and non-denominational. And we had a luncheon in 2 different locations last month, and we got to meet a lot of these ministers, and it's amazing what we're all going to be able to do together. Now, what does that look like for Anona? Well, for Anona, I believe we have a slide. I'm going to walk you through how you can get involved with Financial Peace University. Currently, we have 51 people that are looking at either taking a class sometime in the next couple of months, or have already registered for our Monday and Tuesday evenings. So how do you get involved with Financial Peace University? The first thing you're going to do is go to Anona.com. You're going to click on the icon for Transform Your Tomorrow. That's going to take you through a registration process. That's step 1. Step 2 happens immediately after you register. You're going to receive an email from Anona at JotForm. And it's very important that you look for that and open it, because that is your link to the free registration at Ramsey Plus. So you click on Ramsey Plus. Now you're in Financial Peace. You're going to register there. And it's just very, very simple. Your name, your email address, and a couple of other questions, and then from there, you're going to look for classes. And you're going to see 2 current classes, Monday nights at 7 p.m. and Tuesday nights at 6:30, and based on the response that we're seeing, it looks like we're going to be adding another one, Richard. So the other fun thing about Financial Peace University is I am working with Marion Denton at the ACDC Licensed Care Program, and we are reaching out to the families of ACDC. And I get to have the privilege of leading the families of ACDC through Financial Peace beginning in April. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on. This is just the first step. You're going to see some things that are going to be coming forth in the summer, and then into the fall and the first of next year.
Yeah, and ACDC, it was nice to sit down with them and talk about, they're wrestling with enrollment and saying, how can we get more students enrolled in our Nona Cello Development Center? And I was sitting down with Marion and said, what if we offered to everybody at the preschool free Financial Peace University as a way of maybe building in the benefit of coming to Anona to be able to be your church for raising your child. And that's where now Lisa's doing this class that we're going to invite the parents that are already enrolled, the parents that are newly enrolling together to be able to say, we're here to support you in a holistic way. It's for your kids, it's for your family, it's for your finances, it's for your faith, all those pieces coming together as one. And I know you're talking about very cryptically another class. Are you saying you're going to do that? Because if so, I think we should speak to it a little bit. We're wrestling. We're wrestling. Here's the issue. The cool thing is,
the message we got today.
yes, that's
this
the one I'm
is
thinking.
so exciting, and I'm wrestling with it because I would really like to lead this.
It is
But
so
this
cool.
is a crazy busy time of year for me. We have a family that moved up north, okay? They emailed us today and said they have 22 family members that want to take Financial Peace University. That's an entire class in and of itself with one family. Talk about changing the family dynamics. This is one, yeah.
This is the coupon gift certificates that you got,
Yeah.
guys. The whole idea is it doesn't have to just be localized to our congregation. You have kids and grandkids that you might want to have the opportunity for them to get their financial house in order. That's what it looks like. It looks like a person reaching out to their family and saying, hey, my church is offering this. I don't live in the state anymore. Hoping to come back some point. But would you like to take this through what is still my online church, the church that I attend online? Would you like to join me? And now we've got potentially 22 people joining from another state to take that class together. So if you got those coupons, put them to use. People apparently say yes when you offer Financial Peace University for free.
Yes.
Give it to them.
And the other thing is, if you've been through Financial Peace and you would like to be a Financial Peace coordinator, email me, elisa@anona.com. We'll get you plugged in.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Elisa. Give her a hand, too. She's doing a lot of good stuff. Your team of people that work here have been pouring themselves out beyond their normal job. This isn't something that's really within Elisa's job description. It's something she felt called to by God, and it is coming to life in very powerful ways. We have Jeremy coming forward to speak on behalf of trustees. We would have our trustees chair here, but she was unable to be with us tonight, so he's going to step, wherever you want.
Where do I stand?
You have
Where
your
do I
whole
stand?
kit with
Over
you.
here. I'll stand
Walk
over
your
here.
whole kit. You're all good.
Am I the comic or credible here? I'm the comic, right?
You're always the comic.
You're the serious host.
I'm very
Just want to make sure.
serious.
Hey, guys. Good to see you this evening. A couple things. Oh, my head's cut off. Okay, should I lower? Should I? That's fun. Sorry. Thanks, guys. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, I get it.
Almost like the chicken
They
dance.
also have control of my mic, so I have to be really nice to our
We
technique.
could coordinate where you're going up while I'm going down.
Yeah, we can do a little dance.
Yeah.
First thing, before we dive into trustees, for those of you online, this is the time to ask us your questions, okay? There's this cool thing. Our live stream is actually time delayed by about 2 to 3 minutes. And so if you go online now and send your questions to Casey, they will magically appear in your future in about 3 minutes. So just stay tuned, but you got to send them now. If you send them when we ask later, they'll be in our, never mind. It gets, time travel. It's just kind of crazy. Anyways, talking trustees here. So yeah, we'll do the questions ones in just a minute. First thing I want to talk about trustees, I want, just like Richard was sharing, want to look back just a little bit. Not only on 2020, but also the year before, 2019. Our trustees were given a very special gift from a donor in the shape of something called a 30-year study. Now, if you're not familiar with those, this is a professional organization that comes to your company, and for us it was the church, and looks at all your assets. It looks at everything you own. It looks at your property, your buildings, your air conditioners, your roofs, your pianos, your chairs, you name it. And they actually put a 30-year plan together that talks about lifespan. At what point will the roof on Wesley Hall probably need to be replaced? At what point would air conditioner 27, and Scott, I forget how many air conditioners, is it 54? Dang, I got it right. 54 air conditioners on our campus when air conditioner 52 is about ready to expire. And all those important things that affect us financially as a church there. And so this amazing chart that kind of lines up year to year, and here's what we project for 1 year or 5 years, 10 years out. We have this tool to help us. And why this is so important, guys, is because for us, it really helps us in balancing and taking a look not only at our campus needs all across the board here at the church, but how that's going to impact us today as we're dealing in the midst of this COVID situation, but also coming forward as we proceed out of this COVID crisis, whenever that happens, and move into what is next as a church. This is an important tool for us in planning and being good stewards of the resources that you all share with us in our church community here. So thank you for that. I want to talk a little bit about 2020. No, don't even have to say much more about 2020. It was a fun year. But let me just share with you a few things that your trustees group accomplished in 2020. First thing, they replaced a school bus for our AC/DC program. Our AC/DC was in need of replacing one of our aged school buses, and our trustees purchased that for them from one of our bus auctions, made sure it was roadworthy and ready to go. Now they have that vehicle available to them and to the church as well in transporting our kids. Our trustees spent a tremendous amount of time on COVID. We talked about COVID so much, I didn't even want to hear about it, after the third month. But we did so much in planning for COVID, addressing things back in March and April when there were supply shortages. There were severe supply shortages on masks and
Toilet paper.
And, well, we got the toilet paper one. Okay, we figured that one out. But all kinds of challenges that we had to deal with. How do we stock our campus? How do we have what we need? Make sure we have the equipment and the supplies. The PPE that we need, to make that happen there. Not only just in the supplies itself, we also had to do a rethink and a redesign of our campus, our classrooms, our worship spaces, our meeting locations. How do they meet the new standards in dealing with social distancing and spacing? A good example is the sanctuary that you see right here. You see all these wonderful green spacers that were designed as 6-foot spacers so people can sit safely and worship. And you know what the cool thing is about the spacers? These were sewn by you, by our church. This was an opportunity for many of our women, and I think a couple guys too that helped us with it, that put their blood, sweat, and tears helping us to make these so that we can provide the safety and spacing needed for worship. So just a tremendous amount of work in COVID planning so that we can and did last summer open our license care, so that we can and did open our offices here at the church, so that we can and did open in-person worship. That happened, I think, was at Advent, I believe, when we officially got that up and rolling there. So they've done a lot of work in preparing for that. They've also replaced a major roof, our Wesley Hall roof, the one I was talking about earlier. Yeah, it had to be replaced. And so that was a huge project there. Several large air conditioner units had to be swapped out, both on Wesley Hall and on our contemporary sanctuary. We had an upgrade of our fire system. They had to replace the electronic components because the components inside were no longer supported. Don't you love it when the warranty runs out? Yeah, so warranty ran out on that, but the good news is it is fixed, it is ready. Scott did an amazing, that was one of his first big jobs coming on board with us. So thank you, Scott, for diving into making sure that all of our fire systems were functioning and working well there for that. We also had our painting of our Wesley Hall interior because we're planning ahead. One of the things we're working with our family ministry on is how do we prepare for the return of kids? Now, we're not at the place yet where we have children's program on campus. We hope to get there. That is part of the plan. That is part of the hope. That is part of the dream. And to help kind of bring that to fruition and what we might do differently in those spaces, we want to kind of re-prepare the environment. And so Bonnie has been doing an amazing job of tackling that project and working with family ministry and getting that to happen. So guys, even in a year of COVID, your trustees had a lot of work to be done. So I want to take a moment and talk about looking ahead. We've looked back on 2020, what we've accomplished in the past year. What are we doing looking forward? Well, one of the big projects we're working on, actually as we speak right now, just recently, we're in process of replacing several of our old worship live stream computers. Now, those of you that are joining us online, and for us in this season of our church, that is the vast majority of our attendance. We still have the vast majority of people coming in worship and our small group participation focused online. And while we have some great resources there, we've got some computers that in computer years are quite old. It's kind of like dog years. When a dog is 7, they're ancient. If a computer's 7, you would just probably put it out in a field somewhere. So we have to do some replacement there, especially in dealing with live stream. There's a tremendous amount of video editing. There's video storage. There's gigabytes and terabytes of information that has to be sorted and planned through and handled there. So we're actually in process of getting those replaced and upgraded both in our traditional sanctuary and in our contemporary sanctuary so that we are well prepared for not only the present but the future as we continue to invest in our live stream worship there. One of the other really cool things that Richard just shared a little bit earlier was our our Zoom classroom setups. Here's the thing, as we're looking forward, one of the things we anticipate moving forward is probably continuing a hybrid model in a lot of what we do. And when I say hybrid, that's a mix of both in-person and online, for everything from classes to choirs. We're actually experimenting with hybrid models that we may be looking at for choir groups, meeting groups. We actually already have a Tai Chi class. That is the coolest thing. A group meets for Tai Chi. Some of them meet safely, socially distanced in person, and there are some that meet online. And we have these carts with these giant television monitors on it and special camera equipment that we can wheel into any room, set up very easily, and a small group or a class or a Tai Chi group or a choir would be able to connect with people who can't come on the campus and to keep that connection there. So very excited for that and the use that we can use in those now and in the future ahead as we continue to invest in in-person and virtual needs for our campus. So that's kind of the trustees report. I think Richard's going to take us now talking a little bit about some celebration moments, I believe, right? Oh, tail end, sorry. All right, well, what's next, Richard? Oh, thank you. Questions and answers.
Sorry, we're at questions and answers, and stay up here for that in case there's any questions for you. Is there anything even coming through right now, Casey? Any questions from inside the room? Cool, we get to keep moving. All right. I know you were so ready to receive questions. All right, so if you have any questions, make sure she's lonely over there.
Well, it'll be
Send her
about
a
another
question.
3 or 4 minutes.
It's all good. Well, keep going. Okay, we'll keep going. So coming up next after questions is going to be the wonderful Scott Magnus to talk to us about medical situations, reopenings, all that kind of stuff. I will say as he's coming forward, quite frequently I get emails from people, and it's very nice because I get them from two sides. I get emails from people that say you're opening too fast and you're doing things inappropriately, and I get emails from people that are saying you're going too slow and you should be letting us do more worship and things together. That's a great place for me to live. I like that, actually, because we're getting a nice balance of responses of people who are just sort of wrestling. And I think one of the things that Scott and the team have been talking about a lot is really trying to balance the situation in terms of COVID with the reality of how much we need, not just want, we need to be together. And that there's a health aspect to that as well. So Scott's going to sort of walk through what's the situation in Pinellas County and maybe address a few of those issues. So Scott?
Well, thank you, Richard. Hey, church family. It's great to see everybody that's here. And for those of you that are at home, can't see you, but glad to be with you. You know, Richard, you nailed it. It's about being together, isn't it? Now, one thing I used to say, you know, the church is not about the building. Well, since I started my new job, building takes a little bit of time. I was so busy today, I thought I'm going back to the fire department to rest for a while. But it's challenging. It was a great trustees report. Every day's a little bit something on a campus this size. But you know, folks, the church, it is about having a comfortable place to worship. But the church is about being together, isn't it? I think God meant for us to be in the presence of one another, to lift up, to support, to learn from one another. That's where the first churches came from, was the need for people to interact in a physically present way. And then here we are in a pandemic year. A little bit of debate whether or not we should have seen it coming, but all of a sudden it was here, and we had to deal with it. And Richard, you're exactly right. For the medical team, whom I'm honored to represent tonight, the church's medical advisory team, it has been a question of balance for almost a year now. I'm here to represent an amazing group of folks, Richard Schomp, who is a paramedic and director of operations for Sunstar Paramedics, Jan Gullick, who is an RN with our own Pinellas County Health Department, Betsy Bomar and Nancy Dowd, both retired RNs with extensive nursing experience, along in the lines of infection control as well, and our own Reverend Jeremy Harrington, who coordinates with the group as well. But what's significant about that group is not only a tremendous cache of expertise, but also they are church family. So when we talk about the balance, we figured out early in this pandemic that people needed to be together. And we had to find that balance in allowing that human interaction, but at the same time acknowledging this is a pretty bad bug, and we have to do it safely. So this pandemic has affected all areas of worship, grow, and serve. And our medical advisory team has been looking at all of those areas. It's unprecedented. And we've really struggled to find that balance all year long. But I think we've done a pretty good job. Now, going on, before we talk about those specific areas, thought we'd give you just a very brief update about COVID in Pinellas County. We're going to have some slides coming up here, and right now there's about 60,000 confirmed cases in Pinellas County with a little over 1,300 deaths associated with COVID-19 just for Pinellas County. And you know, my friends, I tell people all the time that those confirmed cases represent about 6% of the population here, and that doesn't sound like very much, but you know what? If one of them was a family member or someone that near and close to you, really that number doesn't make any difference, does it? So it is about our church family and a burning desire to protect our church family and make sure that we don't have this terrible thing being transmitted on our campus. Another statistic to keep in mind is about 25% of Pinellas County population is 65 and older. A very vulnerable population when it comes to the coronavirus. Now, moving on, we'll show you our percent positivity. You've heard a lot about this in the news, and there's a lot of focus on that number. As a matter of fact, the medical team has identified 10% percent positivity. This is the percentage of people who are tested who turn up with a positive COVID response. On this slide that's up there, what's really important is not a single day, but that rolling 14-day average. And if you see that big old Christmas tree spike right there towards December, that's exactly what that was. We came off the holidays and a lot of togetherness in the community, and we saw the predicted spike. So here's the good news. Our percent positivity now is down to about 5.6% on that rolling 14-day average. And that's good, folks, and I will tell you that's a direct result of social distancing, frequent hand hygiene, and the wearing of masks. Now, your medical advisory team also looks at another important barometer, and that's the stress on the county's healthcare system. If we were having this talk about a month ago, I would have told you healthcare system in Pinellas County and the emergency medical system is pretty significantly strained. About 4 to 6 weeks ago, we were really feeling it, and we were actually starting to get very concerned. Your medical advisory team was starting to talk about how it would look for Anona. But we came off of that holiday spike. Things are leveling out, and as we speak tonight, the healthcare system is relatively stable. So those are just a few of the barometers. Your health team looks at that every single week. We were actually meeting via Zoom every week to discuss this, and now we're we're comfortable enough that we're doing email updates once a week. And we feel like the situation has, I want to say this with caution, the situation is better than it was 4 to 6 weeks ago. But we have to stay the course. I need you to hear that COVID is still very much a part of our community, and we're in this for the long haul. It's not going to go away anytime soon, but that leads me into my next topic, which is an update on the vaccine. So there's been a lot in the news, a lot in the press about the vaccine. I will tell you that I've talked to quite a few very respected medical doctors that are part of our church family, and indirectly talked to a number of very well-recognized epidemiologists. And the good news is the vaccines that are out there are highly effective. And so it comes down to a matter of distribution. I know there's been a lot of frustration in our community about distribution. And I will tell you that Pinellas County is very well situated to distribute the vaccine. It comes down to availability of the vaccine. So hopefully that will continue to get better. Our licensed care program was just within the last few days notified that all of their folks may very quickly become eligible to receive the vaccine. That is definitely progress. On the slide that is showing right now is the website for pretty much a one-stop for you to refer to if you're still in search of a vaccination. COVID19.pinellascounty.org/vaccines. Leslie has done a tremendous job keeping the Anona website updated, but I would also refer you back to this website as it changes very quickly, and the availability tends to pop up there before anywhere else. So stay the course on the vaccine. If you haven't been able to get in yet, keep trying. It will get better. Not tomorrow, maybe not this week, but incrementally and exponentially, it's going to get better for us. So where are we now? As far as our church family, where are we in the midst of this unprecedented pandemic? Your medical advisory team is constantly monitoring COVID right here in Pinellas. We are in constant review of evolving CDC guidelines, and they do evolve. And so we keep close track of those. Our staff and volunteers, our amazing worship team, have all received fairly extensive training on the COVID protocols here on campus. You know that for a while the campus was closed, but at this point, staff is back working on campus. Our worship teams are back providing live services, 3 every Sunday. We have small groups meeting. Our licensed care program is very active. And so the campus is coming alive again, albeit on a somewhat limited by numbers of people. Our youth group was the first to return in terms of small groups. They've done, that leadership team has done a phenomenal job. I don't know how they wrangle all those kids every week, but they do. They're totally committed to their safety. They've done a phenomenal job, and we use them sort of as hey, look at what they're doing for other places in campus as they bring those kids onto our campus every Sunday night. All of their groups and all of our small groups that are meeting are currently limited to 20. Most of our small groups are hybrid, and you heard that mentioned earlier, that it's a combination of in-person and virtual as well. We are back to 3 services on Sunday. We are at 20% of normal capacity. So if you look around the sanctuary here, you'll see that the spacers take up, first thing you'll notice is that every other pew is closed off. So there's 50% right there. And then you'll see how much room the spacers take up. And you'll see that that's where we get that 20% capacity. But I have to tell you, and I want to shout this loud and clear, we still have room. We are not reaching the 20% capacity. So for those who have been thinking about, maybe I'd like to try to go back to Sunday worship, but they got this reservation system, we have not maxed out on reservations so far. So it's a very easy process, and if you're struggling with the online process, please call the church, and we'll get you a spot at Sunday worship. But it is an individual choice. I always like to highlight that, and we totally respect a decision to stay virtual for a while or to come back. It's a very individualized, personal decision, and I always encourage you to consult with your family and your healthcare provider to see if in-person is right for you at this time. But I can tell you that we are committed to a safe worship experience here on campus. We control the entrances, as you have seen, fairly carefully so that no one can come in without being screened for COVID symptoms and a temperature, a no-contact temperature check. You have seen that we're fairly strict on masks and social distancing. We have hand hygiene stations. You can hardly turn around without running into one here. What is less obvious is that we have addressed air circulation and air filtration in all of our worship centers. As we speak right now, the air in this room is constantly being turned over, so we have a special setting for that. You see that we have limited our touch objects as far as hymnals and it's also affected our communion and our offering, but we're limiting the number of things that you have to touch when you come in. And we even have an exit strategy. So at the end of our worship service, we dismiss by rows so that we don't have everybody congregating in the aisle and have concerns over social distancing. So we are very, very committed to providing a safe worship experience, and the reason it's working is you all and your commitment to following the protocols that have been set forth. We've had very, very few compliance issues here with the folks that have come back for small groups and for worship, and mostly the response is, what can we do? What can we do to make sure that everyone is safe? And so good on you. Thank you so much. It's great when we have folks here, and it's great that we're able to do a shared virtual experience as well. One final note about where we're at. You know, one of the hardest things, folks, we were not able to do sacred ceremonies such as funerals, weddings, and baptisms for quite a while. And now we're beginning to address those issues. We have a couple of weddings scheduled, formed a number of funeral services, and we're starting to do baptisms. Now, they are, of course, on a limited capacity basis, and we look at each one of those on a case-by-case basis, but the good news is those services are now available here on our campus. Well, where are we going? Where is this thing going? Well, the medical advisory team will continue to meet weekly, reviewing CDC, state, and local requirements, as well as our own expertise and just common sense, what is best for our church family. We hope to see an increase in those who are ready to return to in-person worship, and we remain committed to that safe worship experience. We desperately want, y'all, we desperately are looking forward to the day when we can return some of the worship traditions, such as communion, fellowship, and singing. I know, you want to sing, don't you? I think that may be the number one thing that we hear. We're not quite there yet. We're not quite there, but we are headed in that direction. For Grow, we are certainly looking to increase small group capacity and opportunities and get folks back here, as I said, to be in the presence of one another, to learn and to support one another. And we hope to get back to the communion ceremony as it was before, and just fellowship. I don't know about y'all, but I love our donuts. And we haven't been able to do that for a while. Trust me, I'm pushing for the donuts. We'll get back there. Our serve, expand outreach. We, of course, want to expand our outreach and mission programs. I can tell you, y'all know that I'm involved with our Hands of Healing program, committed to our friends in Guatemala. We have not been able to travel this year. It's been very painful. They're in a lot of trouble down there. And we have been able to find ways to send support to our partners in Guatemala, but we're just now beginning to talk about what international travel might look like. But I have to tell you, we're probably still a year away from that. So it is a goal, and we're working in that direction. What effect will the vaccine have on COVID policies and procedures here on campus? That remains to be seen. We're waiting for the CDC to provide some guidelines on that and to see how exponentially this vaccine will be able to ramp up and what percentage of our community will be able to receive the vaccine. By the way, right now it's about 9%. About 9% of all Pinellas County has received the vaccine. And then finally, returning to normal. Y'all, what does normal mean? What's normal going to look like? Is there going to be a new normal? And you've heard that referenced here a couple of times tonight. I will say this, I don't know. Every day, it's day to day with this pandemic, and as we said, we're watching it very, very closely. But I want us to look at it like this, and I think your medical advisory team is looking at it like this, is one of opportunity. Richard mentioned, well, we were headed towards virtual, but we didn't know we were really going to have it. I'd never heard of Zoom before. I thought that was a skateboarder prior to the pandemic, right? But Zoom has sort of transformed our lives. There's opportunity in all of this for outreach like we've never done before. But I want you to hear that your medical team is church family. We miss being in the presence. All our friends here on Sundays and in small groups, we're working back towards whatever this new normal is going to be. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your compliance, because frankly, your cooperation is why we are where we are. God bless you all.
One thing I would add to some of Scott's protocols that we're taking, we've had comments from the emails that I've gotten, is concerns about the fact that we're not wearing masks. So when we come forward, or your music people, whether it's a choir in here or the band in the other room, the social distancing that Scott has set up, the first 3 rows are closed. We're way up on the stage. So we're not just social distancing, we're hyper social distancing to make sure that while we're preaching, while we're singing, we're way away from one another. The people that are volunteering and saying, I want to be in the band, or I want to be in our choirs with 4 people, have embraced the risks and said it's important to them that they participate. That's their decision. So it's not like we're twisting anybody's arm and saying, you must do this. So everybody who's doing this is keeping far away from anybody that's in the congregation. So when Scott's talking about being safe coming back, we're literally trying to do everything possible to say, fill up the rest of the 20%. If you're comfortable coming back, talk to your health provider, talk with your family, but know that we have more space for you if you'd like to join us. And we've actually been seeing that grow a little bit, both in the traditional, more so the traditional late, and our contemporary service. You're starting to see the numbers come back up, and I think that's a piece of that is the vaccine. Scott, thank you so much. I'm going to lift up one little more portion. Yeah, you can give him another hand. That's all good. We've been showing you a slide as we've gone through a process of reopening the stages that has been guided by this medical team. So when we met last as a all-church meeting was September, and this is where we were at. We were at 2B.1, where we were doing live online. We have now crossed over to the next screen, which has us moving over to 2B.2, which is limited online campus, online limited on campus for groups, case by case for serve opportunities. That all gets done in consultation with the medical team. We have made progress. What we're discovering is to get from like 2B.2 to 3A and to get all the way to 3B isn't a simple 1 or 2 steps. It's going to take us many steps to get reopened. Shutting down, we did like that. In a matter of weeks, we did the shutdown. Reopening is a much longer and deliberate pace because we're wanting to make sure that everybody remains safe. And I hope that makes sense to everyone. Jack is going to come forward now to talk to us about what we're doing in terms of that thing I mentioned a little bit earlier with small groups and how we might be able to live that out in more powerful ways as we move forward.
Getting my mask off, getting all set up, staying social distance from Richard. You can see my COVID haircut and my COVID body. I haven't seen the gym since Moby Dick was a minnow. You miss the humor, don't you? Listen, Richard and I were dealing, before COVID ever hit, before our transition ever happened between the two of us, with mega trends that are going on across the world that we have to address as a church. The first one is the brick and mortar model of come to a big place to get your stuff. It's nearly dead. My friend Sears went bankrupt. I'm gonna list a few who we just lost. You ready? Kids R Us, Service Merchandise, A&P Groceries, Woolworths, Sports Authority, and there are only 2 Blockbuster stores left in the world. We have to adapt past the people have to come to the bricks and mortar to get their needs met. That's a huge megatrend. That's number one. Number two, there is a worldview when Jesus and the disciples taught of the priesthood of all believers, and everybody in the church was in mission and ministry, and everybody was seen as a priest. We lost that during the Middle Ages. It was caught up again in the Reformation. The big thing that reformed the church and got it going again is that everybody is a priest. Everybody ministers in the church. We've lost that again. The priesthood of believers is almost dead. In most churches, there's just a pastors do the work and you listen to them. Anona is not that, never has been that, but we've got to get on that second wave. Third wave. Y'all, we're beyond what's called Christendom. Christendom is defined as an assumed character of a person in a society being Christian. We cannot assume that the person checking you out at Publix is active in church, A, and B, has the character issues that one identifies with Christianity: kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Not only that, but the outside world sees us as irrelevant. And Lauren Mead talks in his book, Once and Future Church, that the church isn't rethinking itself to do two things: to give people an inner journey of holiness, that's love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, and an outer journey of holiness: service, volunteering, sharing, raising up others, donating, working for causes such as justice and poverty and education. My friends, it's not assumed that these things are important, and the church is the place where these things are put together. The pandemic, my friends, came along, and all it did was exacerbate these three losses. It just took them and put them on steroids. And more than that, and Richard mentioned it earlier, what we've really lost is each other. Our normal, just be in each other's life, supporting each other, encouraging each other, being there in times of pain, in times of need, just being there. Richard and I we had about an hour before this meeting. Jeremy has kids at home, so he had to go. And yeah, that's what kids at home means. Richard and I went up to Panera and sat outside and had a cup of tea. 6 feet apart outside. It was glorious. Why? We had a moment of friendship. That's why. We had a moment of just loving, being together for just a minute. My friends, we need to adapt as we come out of COVID, not just to come out of COVID, but to address these three mega trends that we were going to address before the pandemic, but the pandemic has put them on steroids. I'm inviting you online to email me, jack@anona.com. It's easy, jack@here. Because I need to build leadership in overcoming those three mega trends. We have 4 prototypes of gathering people together in very different ways than we've done before. The first one is to take people who can't get out, ALFs, adult living facilities, nursing homes, people who no longer drive, and go there to minister to them. We were just starting that. We were just into it before the pandemic hit. And I need folk who email me and say, Jack, I'll be on that team. I'll go be a minister to a group of people who can't get out. I'll pray with them. I'll walk with them toward death. I will be a priest, a pastor to that people. Second, home gatherings. We've got to renew what the church started as being. Having people over to your house and talking about spiritual things. Just having people over. Take a 2-liter and some chips out and talk about spiritual things. Talk about life. That's the second prototype. Third type is a simple gather to view. In a mobile home clubhouse, in a high-rise clubhouse, in a neighborhood place, to just gather together and watch worship. To just have watch parties, just watching worship together, gathering, and then growing in our relationship for there. And finally, we have a model for more organized Sundays in places like large mobile homes, clubhouses, that kind of stuff, where a team comes together and leads worship, where they might get past just viewing worship. They might do the prayer, They might do the announcements for that local community. We've got prototypes in all 4 of these. We've got a group called Neighborhood Pastors and Legacy Callers who've been working on these things. I trained a whole bunch of people beginning of last year on pastoral skills. As we come out of COVID, my friends, we've got to prepare to hit the ground running in these 4 areas and much more. This church has never done small groups well. In all of its history, it's never done small groups well. We need groups where people can come together and listen to each other and lean on each other and be there for each other in times of pain and need. Share the joy, share the life. What Richard and I just shared an hour of and cherished it. We need that. We need spiritual leaders to do that. I implore you, email me, jack@anona.com. I will work with you, train you, put you with other people to make a difference in people's lives. To get us not just through the pandemic, y'all. It's not enough to survive the pandemic. We need to deal with the things before the pandemic ever hit that are killing the church's relevance and presence in people's lives. I need you with me. Email me. I'll get back with you. We will come together and form leadership for a church that is the once and future church to come.
Thank you, Jack. I was thinking, I remember we talked about this was years ago. We talked about not just small groups, but Sunday school. We haven't just not done small groups well. We haven't done Sunday school well. If you think about it from our history, from the time that we built this sanctuary that we're standing in right now, and if you think of where the Contemporary Worship Center is, it used to be a field with a house in the middle of it back in the 70s. And when they built this over here, they separated it from the Sunday school building, whereas it used to be the chapel with the Sunday school building right next to it. The moment that happened, Sunday school attendance at Anona United Methodist Church plunged to amongst the worst in the conference. We lost the idea of small community together. And what we're saying is, when you think of it from a church history perspective, that's not the way Christianity works. We're meant to be in one another's lives. The cool thing at Panera wasn't just Jack and I. It says we sat there, we saw 2 families. I saw one family that I know from my involvement in the Seminole Chamber of Commerce with her daughter, and they were getting ready to run over the bridge at the Bel Air Causeway. And then Heidi Beeman and her kids were there. Caught us as we were walking out. I was just leaning against the rail. Jack was inside refilling his tea. And I'm just leaning there, and they're like, Richard? And I'm like, yeah, I just lean against rails. That's all I do. Laying there, right? And we had a great conversation and connection with them, getting outside the walls. It's really as simple as that, to be able to get outside the walls and suddenly you're talking to somebody. And you'll remember what I talked about 2 weeks ago. We don't gather in the name of chicken wings. We don't gather in the name of football. We gather in the name of Jesus Christ. So what Jack is talking about is it's gathering, but there's more purpose than just in the gathering. It's gathering in the name of Christ. And if you want to be a part of that, make sure you reach out to him to make that possible. Jeremy, you're up for worship, and then we're getting really close to our close.
Hey, what's the clock say? All right. We are at 1 hour, 20 minutes. So everyone stand and stretch for a minute. Stretch those arms, stretch those legs. Yeah, come on. I gotta fix my mic anyway.
You want to see them do that at home too. So he's saying, tell everybody, stretch your arms, stretch your legs, get up, do some jumping jacks.
There we go. Mic's on. Sorry, guys.
Go to the gym that Jack
Stretch your
doesn't
arms,
go
stretch
to.
your legs. Those of you at home, just do, I don't know, whatever your home exercise. I'm still trying to figure that one out too. All right, only a few more minutes here, guys. We're going to talk about worship for just a moment, all right? All right, everyone stretched and good? We good? All right, have a seat. I want to talk just a little about worship. Obviously, 2020 was unprecedented in so many areas, including worship. So much of what we had to do was literally changing the model for approaching worship. For services like our traditional service that is built on giant choir lofts filled with singers, orchestras, big bell choirs, the presence of many like that, we had to totally rethink that. And so just a couple quick shout outs I want to give. First to our contemporary band, and especially to Nate Madigan, who was working with them. They poured themselves, give them a hand, they did an amazing job pouring themselves into a Christmas CD project that was a gift to y'all, and hopefully y'all got one, and if you didn't, you're going to have to wait till next Christmas to get any more. There's Nate right there. So thank you, Nate, for just your hours and hours of work on that one. Also want to give a shout out to our traditional worship choir and to Jonathan Dennison, our director of all things tech back there. They teamed together as well Christmas time and brought a virtual Christmas cantata. It was an amazing experience, and it is just through the expertise and the work. There he is. He's got his cat mask on, and he's disappearing. But that's the cool thing about being in a booth. You can just kind of hide back there. But just thank you guys for all your work and efforts in that. As we're moving forward now into Lent and into Easter season, we're continuing that tradition of really re-looking at things. How do we continue to try to find inspiring ways to gather and worship safely, but also in some new different directions? So just some services and events coming up I want to lift up to you. First is our Ash Wednesday service that is coming up on February 17th. You can read about it on our website. I'll just give you a quick summary. There are a couple options. The chapel will be open daytime from 10 a.m. to noon. Oh, good. We have a graphic. Thank you, guys. 10 a.m. to noon and 2 to 4 p.m. for prayer and ashes. And we are calling that self-service ashes, okay? You will get a little individual cup of ashes that you will place on yourself. Keyword being self. Okay, we got it. So that's the chapel. For the worship service, 7 o'clock that night. That'll be here in our traditional sanctuary. And you'll have two options there. It will be online through our live.anona.com, so you can watch from home if you would like. You can also come in person, remembering that you have to register first. So there is now a separate sign-up. Don't sign up on the Sunday morning list, okay? There's a separate sign-up for Ash Wednesday. Go to the Ash Wednesday article on the website. You can click on the link, sign up to come in person. There will be communion that night, and there will be ashes, both self-service, like what we talked about, and we've developed with our medical team an acceptable way that also allows us to administer ashes safely. So if you feel like you would want that, you don't have to, obviously, completely optional. We will have the ability for some of the pastors to do that evening. So that's on February 17th. We also have our virtual concert series. This was a brand new start for us. We've been doing concerts for years at Anona. This is the first year that it is completely virtual. We kicked that off in November with Heather Sorensen. We had the Christmas Eve presentation. We had our Jazz in January event. We've got Mark Hayes, February 21st, 4 o'clock p.m., live.anona.com, one of the foremost composers in church choral and in church sacred music. You've got to see this one. He is a blessing for so many, and hope you join us for that. And then we have our Holy Week presentations. Holy Week is an important time. Christmas and Easter, let me tell you, they are some of the highlights in our Christian faith and in our worship as well. We'll be presenting a very special Maundy Thursday service on April 1st at 7 o'clock, both online and in person, so we always have those options for you all. There's going to be communion, and there's going to be some special music and some visual presentations. I'm not going to give it away, but we're also looking at creative ways of bringing the music and the story and the message of the upper room alive. So that'll be that night. We will have our Easter sunrise services online. We've reached out with Serenity Gardens next door, and we're working team together on that to create a visual Easter sunrise experience online. Just a little too challenging with the logistics to try to present a large outdoor with hundreds of people. But we've got some cool ideas of how we might shape that for this season. So that'll be coming up obviously Easter morning at sunrise. And then our Easter services here at Anona will be both, at this point anyways, live and in person. So we will have both those options, and I will put in the caveat, of course that can always change. We all know that with pandemic, things can change tomorrow. But that's the plan going forward on that. And I've got to say, there's some really exciting ideas. We've got two separate visual teams, one in the traditional service, one in contemporary, and they are working on some pretty radical ideas of how we can present the message of Christ's resurrection in just some exciting ways. I'm excited for it. We're hoping we can do it. It's one of those things we don't know if we can figure it out or try it or make it work, but we're certainly going to put 110% behind it and make that happen so that we can celebrate well that day. So we invite you to join us for Easter as well, and just to stay tuned for more excitement going on. And that's what's going on for worship.
Thank you, Jeremy. And I would say as well, yes, absolutely. Mark Hayes, who did what? He wrote 2 compositions for us.
Yes, he did, actually. He was commissioned for 2 works, one for Ann Waite's husband, and what was the second one?
John Hires.
John Hires was actually a different composer.
Oh, I thought it was Mark.
Yeah, no, that wasn't Mark Hayes.
I was wrong.
Sorry.
So he only did one thing.
He did one for us.
No, he's not worth coming to see now. So.
He is amazing.
He is.
And we had that. We actually flew him down here last fall because it was quiet. He was willing to fly, which was wonderful because he lives out in Kansas. And he says, "I'll come down." We couldn't have people, but we filmed him here at the church and just had a wonderful time. It was almost like our own personal concert, but we were able to capture it on video, and we're going to share it with you. So
It is our personal concert, doggone it.
It is.
And they're going to get to
in
see
your
it
home
online. So make sure you pay attention for that date as it comes forward. We want to wrap up, guys, with just some celebrations of things that happened in this past year. You think of COVID and all the bad that happened. I want to share with you a lot of the good that happened because of this church in terms of accomplishments. And we got a few slides we're going to throw up. I got a few pictures of some of the things. That's Milani right there. You've probably seen that picture a lot because it's one of our favorite pictures. Milani was there for our 100,000 meal pack that we did the week before the shutdown happened. 25,000 people were fed from this church, and we worked with 3 other churches to feed a total of 100,000 people. The one up to the right there is our teacher appreciation breakfast. We couldn't do it on campus. We adapted. We hosted more teachers than we are normally able to host in here. 500 teachers came through. The Pop the Trunk, that's only one example. That's the Pop the Trunk at night event that we had. We had 3 Pop the Trunk events, 3, where we had actually did it ourselves. We invited our community. It was another moment where we invited other churches to join us collaboratively. What did she say? 8,214 people were impacted by the 3 Pop the Trunk events. And community partners are stealing the idea, which is awesome. They're taking that idea and saying, we can do that too. I can't remember, there was even a phone call last week, I think, that I talked to you about, Jackie. Wasn't it? Somebody called us saying, oh, it was the funeral homes, saying, is it okay if we use the Pop the Trunk logo again for ourselves to do another one of these food drives? And we're like, absolutely, do it. It's all about the ministry and providing that availability to people. The next slide, I think we got 3 more little pictures of things that have happened. That's that wonderful event we talked about earlier where we did the live nativity on the left. We had over 1,000 people come through that. The thing in the upper right, once again, family ministry pulled off. That was where we couldn't do our normal trunk or treat. They did Halloween Town, and we had people come out to help us out with that. Down in the lower right, before COVID struck, we did get our confirmation class in. That's when they go to visit the rabbi, and the rabbi was opening up some of the scrolls for them to be able to look at. We had students this year that claimed Christ for themselves, that went out to the beach, faced the water. Some of them got baptized. That still happened in the course of this year. We had so many great things happen, and I could keep going. Jackie sent me this wonderful list of things that happened. It's just amazing. Over $6,000 for the AVID program at Ridgecrest Elementary. We expanded Pack-a-Sack. We've been doing for Ridgecrest Elementary. We now do it also for Seminole Middle School. We launched the Financial Peace University Initiative. We supported disaster relief to Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Guatemala. We strengthened relationships with Young Life, Grady, Ridgecrest. Cool thing happening right now. Shiloh Baptist Church. They were one of the churches that was selected. We applied to be one of these churches. We did not get selected. They did, to be able to provide the vaccine for the Ridgecrest community. And we've got people that are signing up to volunteer through our Stand Up with Anona team, have signed up, and they're now going over to Shiloh Baptist Church for the next 3 days to volunteer to sign people up that don't have the technology to know how to sign up, to make sure that they have the opportunity to be able to get the vaccine. So teams of people going over there to do that. Just incredible things that are happening. And before we get all the way to closing up, do we have any questions? Casey, did you get a job?
Okay, I can't turn on the
We
mic.
paid you for one thing. Just one thing.
I know, this is my only job, and I ruined my microphone. We do have a question. Nan was wondering if we have any updates about the preschool and specifically church financial support of the preschool, getting more students in there, just any general preschool updates, it sounds like.
Sandy, you want to come forward to speak to that at all? Do you have any of that information? I'd rather not take guesses. And Sandy is the chairperson of our preschool committee who works very closely with Marion. And I will say, in the midst of all the transitions we've gone through, Marion has been doing an outstanding job over at the preschool, getting through the COVID crisis, having the support of Sandy and Betty Ray and the whole committee that surrounds her to make sure that they're doing the best job they possibly can. What's going on at the preschool?
Preschool is rolling, and it is a joyous place. I will say that our enrollment is less than it has been. In years past, we are currently at 62 children in the preschool, and this time last year we were in the low 80s. So it really is running behind what it was. They are keeping the schedule at the enrollment very, very tight as far as the teacher-pupil ratio. It is extremely safe, and the children are being kept very, very safe, and we have had a wonderful record of not having a lot of COVID outbreak. So there's so many joyous things going on at the preschool. However, we are now in open enrollment for next year, and it is moving. We have had I believe about 35 families who have enrolled already for next year, but last year we had more than that. So I want to celebrate what is happening, but it's not at full capacity to where it should be. And so we just want to keep that preschool going. As it's such a beautiful ministry and such a joyful place to be, and such a service to the community here. And the staff is just working so hard and it's just amazing what is going on in the midst of all the obstacles that they're having. And Marion is so joyful about it because she said you just go there and you just feel the warmth everywhere, and the staff is just absolutely phenomenal. You could not find a better staff anywhere than our staff. But having said that, we are a little bit in trouble in terms that, I wouldn't say in trouble is probably not a good word to use, but we are behind what we have been in the years past, and as far as our enrollment, and we want that to change. So I just want to say that's where we are. We're not where we were last year, but we're very hopeful for next year. And it's a quality program, and I just urge everyone out there to consider Anona Child Development Center for your children, because you could not find a better place for your children to grow and learn and to learn to love Jesus.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
Sandy, while we still have you up there, sorry, I'm over here now. We actually had another specific part of that question was, do you have any information on facilities remodeling that might be going on? That you can share at this point?
Remodeling, there is some pre-planning, but it's too early to really say much about it. There is research going on about adding a one-year program, a one-year-old program, and so that does involve some facility changes in order to accommodate one-year-olds, because they require, the licensing is different. So there is some going on there. As far as any other facility remodeling going on, I don't know of any, and it is premature to even really talk about the one-year-old program yet. It's just under consideration, and we would love to be able to offer that, and we are exploring adding a one-year-old program to our facility.
That's all for you, Sandy. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, when she's speaking to the preschool and how good it is, she's not just saying that. We're probably the top 1, 2, or 3, maybe. I don't think we go much lower than that in the county when it comes to the evaluations from the Pinellas County Preschool Board that evaluates the effectiveness of our ministry. And it's just amazing how well they score every single year. Casey?
That is all for our questions. I want to lift up one, getting back to your celebratory thing that we just got off of, to put us back into that frame of mind. I want to lift up as well that the confirmation photo that you shared reminded me that not only is it a celebration that we were able to do confirmation, but that happened to be the last weekend that we were open before we shut down. So if you talk about God's timing on that, that was huge. So that's just right back to your celebrations, Richard.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Casey. I'm going to do one more thing, then we're wrapping up. And here's something we're going to be continuing to push on a regular basis because we need your help. In the midst of what we're going through, and even if we weren't, part of the role of us as Christians is to make more Christians. If you think of the Methodist Church mission statement, it's to make disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. There's a very easy way for us to do that. And so we're going to start inviting people, probably at the end of services and at moments like this, and I'm going to try and have you do it tonight, to be able to like, share, or subscribe to our social media platforms or to our website. So Leslie's created this wonderful little slide. You'll start seeing it a little bit more frequently. But if you can go, if you're already on Facebook right now, like this video. Go, if you're not on the platform right now on Facebook, go there. Go to facebook.com/Anona Church. Go in there, like the video. The more you can help us to be able to do that and to be able to share it, you can just click the share button and it'll say share right now, and you say yes, share right now, and it'll go onto your page as well. There is no easier way for you to reach out to people you know and tell them about what's happening at your church. So let's start liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you're not subscribed to our Facebook page, get in there. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, get in there and subscribe. And we're going to keep pushing that as we go through. You're going to be sick of me saying it. What's the 3 words? Like, share, subscribe. All right? Let's get that going on. Let's make this church, don't we want to share it with others? Oh, come on. Do we want to share this church with others? Yes, we do. That's right. Let's pray. God, we thank you. We thank you for this night. We thank you for all that we have gotten through in this past year. And we don't look back at it as a got through. We got through it through the power of your Spirit. We got to make a difference in people's lives in ways we couldn't imagine before this horrible virus struck. And we thank you that you gave us the ability to adapt, to learn, and ask God that you continue to guide us as we walk out of this, as we come through, as the vaccine starts to take effect, as people start to feel safer. And that's our prayer, God, is that they do not just feel safe, but they are safe. And Lord, as we come out of it, that we become a church that is renewed and invigorated and not going back to what we were, just as Jack was talking about, but to something new and better. Lord, we seek your Spirit, your guidance for that journey. And we lift up all those on that journey with us and all those that we seek yet to know. Bless us, we pray, and we pray in the name and power of your Son, Jesus Christ. And we all say, amen. Have a great night, guys. Thanks for joining us. We will see you at least on Sunday or maybe in Jack's class tomorrow.